I'm an optimist, so I say this in a positive way. From what I said, the world is permanently disrupted. It's no longer exceptional events.
Welcome to the Data and AI Chief. I'm your host, Cindy Housen. Imagine it. You're a merchandising manager in retail, and a ship carrying your inventory is stuck. Rerouted, delayed, no solid ETA. Traditionally, figuring out your options could take weeks. You, as a data and AI leader, can come to the rescue, just like our guest today, Boris Rabkin. Boris is the Chief Information Officer at Ligentia, the leading provider of global supply chain solutions. In this episode, you'll hear from Boris why traditional BI fails in a disruptive-driven world and how to execute a data transformation that actually sticks, and what it takes to turn your data platform into a product your customers actually use. Boris, welcome to the Data and AI Chief.
Good morning, Cindy, and thanks for having me on this podcast. I've been following the conversations you've been having here, so it's great to be part of it. Thank you.
I'm thrilled to have you here after an engaging conversation at a dinner in a swanky London restaurant and seeing all the work you've been doing over the years. I'm excited to hear your insights. Now, Boris, you travel the world. Where in the world are you joining us from today?
Well, today I'm in London, although this week has been a bit of a world tour for me. I've been spending some time with our teams in the Middle East and customers in Asia. And I know we talk a lot about digital supply chains and AI, but the reality is you just can't manage everything remotely. Sometimes you got to get on a plane and go see people. You have to stay close to some of the action and, more importantly, close to the people and the problems that you're trying to solve. But look, this week I'm glad to be back in London. We have an amazing weather. You could see I've got blue skies behind me. It's really great to be in London this week.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes when you are dealing with hard problems, that eye contact is super important. And the Middle East, boy, when I think about supply chain disruption, of course, what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz is difficult. But we also have strikes on railroads in New York this week. I understand strikes with some of the trains in London next week. Tell us what Ligentia does. How do you help customers navigate this?
Look, I think in simple terms, with Ligentia, we move goods around the world. Our customers trust us to get their products from A to B, no matter what happens in between. And the reality is we sit in the middle of chaos and we make it feel controlled, right? Ligentia operates at this intersection of logistics planning, execution, and technology, which is all powered by data. So we're just not just moving shipments, we're helping our customers plan better, act faster, and have visibility and some of the confidence that their supply chain is actually working. And you mentioned all these other exceptions. I'm an optimist, so I say this in a positive way. From what I said, the world is permanently disrupted. It's no longer exceptional events, right? We've got things that work this way. We've got geopolitical shifts, we've got port congestions, strikes with the trains, carrier volatility, sometimes even sustainability pressures. The companies that we work with, the companies that are doing really well, are the ones that can use data properly, ask the right questions, interrogate the data themselves, get answers quickly without waiting for someone to build a report, and ultimately make decisions fast enough to minimize some of those impact of those disruptions.
That's for sure. Yeah. And of course, so I believe in the power of data, but some people in supply chain, maybe they don't, or they really like the order taker process. Submit a request to a team, wait for it to come back. And I'm going to ask you, to the extent that you're allowed to share specifically, give us a scenario. I don't know, in our house, we're soccer, AKA football fans. The World Cup is coming. There's going to be all this branded gear being transported around the world, and something goes wrong. What do you do?
Yeah, look, we could look at something very simple, right? A shipment gets stuck or some of the cargo gets rerouted, in a way that was handled before, and sometimes in some environments, this is still the status quo. It's usually a little bit of a fire drill, right? You've got many emails flying around. You've got different teams that are pulling together different versions of data, a lot of waiting, waiting for somebody to pull a report, validate it, send it on. And by the time you actually have that information to make a decision, you lost time, and then a lot of times confidence in the data. So for us today, the process itself is a lot more efficient, a lot more self-service, a lot more immediate, right? With that example, our teams and our customers can access data, they can interrogate the data themselves, they could see the issue it's developing, not after, and you could quickly assess options. You could ask options for rerouting cargo, expediting it, holding it maybe. You could understand the impact. And in this case of, in a simple example, the time to get information, the expectation is changing. No one wants to wait for data anymore. And look, that said, one thing that hasn't fully gone away yet, and that's trust, right? We still get the call, I have a spreadsheet that says something different. And that's a real moment of truth. Speed is one thing, but confidence in the data is something that really drives decisions. So a big part of what we're doing now, is making that data faster, but also making it trusted, consistent, and something that people are comfortably could act on. So that's really the shift, right? From chasing the information to actually using it to make decisions in the moment. And that could be as simple as a shipment that gets delayed.
Yeah, decisions in the moment. I really like that concept. Now, Boris, how long have you been a CIO at Ligentia?
It's been about a year and a half on this journey since I've joined in this role. Yes.
Okay, time flies when you're having fun and when there's, you thrive in chaos. Take us back in time when you first joined. What did you see and what did you say, this is where we need to focus on first?
Yeah, a great question. When I walked into this role within Ligentia, what I found was a very well-built reporting factory when it comes to data. Tons of reports, multiple versions of the truth, lots of effort, but not always a lot of speed or clarity in our data. And so we had a lot of reliance on the tech function, the engineers, sometimes for basic questions, and a lot of manual effort to stitch this together through email and spreadsheets. Different teams had different numbers for the same thing. And if you wanted a new dashboard, sometimes it became a project, right? That's the status quo. Data existed, but it wasn't usable at the speed that we wanted, our customers wanted, and really demanded it.
So how did you referred to the teams working really hard. So everyone's working hard, but maybe not as quickly as the business environment requires. And then expectations from your customers. How did you balance empowering the internal teams versus delivering a solution for customers that lets them make these decisions in the moment?
I think for us, we looked both of them as the same problem. Instead of building, internal tools and separate customer products, from a data perspective, we built a single data platform that could serve both. This kind of approach forced the discipline. If it works for the customer, it really should work for us. If it doesn't, we shouldn't invest time into building it. It also helped, this decision making helped us to make our investments into growth and not just reducing the cost to serve.
So you decided to embed intelligence in a customer-facing capability. Take us through that. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think we made a deliberate decision to do this embedded design within a data product. And we did it using three distinct objectives. We wanted to make sure strategies in front of it, experiences with it, and how we present ourselves as a technology business. So at our core, we already have our own IP. We have a platform, it's called Agentic. It's effectively a control tower with purchase order management, exceptions management, and planning built into it. This is where our customers operate day to day. So it never made sense to us to boot analytics somewhere else as a separate tool with a different interface. Something like this would just create more friction. We wanted one consistent, one branded experience one place where execution intelligence could come together. Not multiple tools, not multiple logins, just one environment. And so that's where our data and AI product, we call it Ligentic's Insights, comes in. It wasn't just a data decision, it was an experience decision. It allowed us to introduce entirely new ways of customers to interact with supply chain data. Our own teams would interact it the same way. And fundamentally, we wanted to make sure that, we don't want people that leave what they're doing to go to a different dashboard, come back. We need to make sure that people are where decisions happen. And so the embedded design in our analytics product is exactly doing that. It's allowing our customers to see insights in the moment that they need them, so they could act immediately. That's the shift, right? It move away from looking back at a report to actually looking at something where you could make decisions in real time.
Yeah, and you've used this word experience a few times. Can you describe a little bit what is the impact from an outcome viewpoint for your customers?
The outcome is speed to get to the decision making. That is the real outcome. Without having the setup of setup, the decisions take too long. And then decisions often come with data that's not trusted. So for us, these type of changes allow for a better decision making. So that simple example that I've mentioned where maybe a cargo is delayed, our customers could make better decisions faster in terms of getting some extra stock, in terms of maybe changing a different routing mechanism or doing a different mode of transport. These are things that ultimately allow the customers to have a lot more confidence in optimizing their supply chain or reacting to the exceptions in supply chain.
Yeah, and so that I'm picturing how that leads to the customers ultimately, when they change the transport, there's cost implications there. I was talking with one retailer who discovered all these goods from a sporting event that was in the past. So that could impact pricing, how they price it. So a lot of good business outcomes here. What can you share about the tech stack that you used for this customer-facing application?
A big part of getting our teams moving with the tech stack was showing the art of the possible. Right? You could ask people to build something, but it's very difficult to ask them to build something they have not experienced yet. So that early on, we build prototypes, we build things with synthetic data just to make it look real. And there's always a little bit of that fake it until you make it moment in that phase, right? You do it, but it's intentional. You're creating belief. You want people to see the art of the possible. And I know I personally probably leaned into that a little bit too much at times. I heard it was being called a salesman and a magician. I took it as a good sign. It meant people were starting to see what was possible. At the same time, we were very structured in how we built that out. Sometimes, I had to get my talented team to do some of the work, and we have a head of data, Stuart Hayes, who led the effort across 3 clear phases. First phase was to stabilize the foundation. Second was to create a model. And then finally, of course, deliver the experience. In other words, we got to fix the plumbing, get the data flowing into one platform and closer to real time. Second, define the business case, define the business metrics. You have to stop reinventing the metrics for every report. You have to create a single, trusted view of the data set. And then, of course, last, and this is the hardest one, is to focus on that experience, to make it simple, to make it self-service, so that customers could get the answers without waiting on somebody else. That's the change. That's the speed to data to decision making.
Yeah, so this is where you, with Stuart, collaborated with the business stakeholders. We are seeing a fight among different stakeholders for who should control AI. What are your views on that?
Yeah, AI ownership is a big topic within our community. And I think AI should be owned where value is created. It shouldn't be a centralized function inside a lab. If it's not close to the product and the people that are using it, AI won't create the value. So for us at Ligentia, ownership sits within the customer, within the product team, within the engineering teams, with a strong governance from a data and security standpoint. The balance, to get the right balance, is critical. And I like the nature of that competitive distributed innovation with some level of centralized control.
Yeah, there's a survey stat that something like 80% of CIOs feel that AI is out of control. They don't know who's doing what. And it's hard to kind of close that door once people have started experimenting. What's been your approach here?
Yeah, I think, for us, I see AI in the industry, it's the interface layer that makes the data usable. So a lot of times AI is there to remove the need for that technical translation, especially get to data, right? To be able to understand the data models. Users don't need to know where the data lives or how to query it, right? Today, with the use of AI and how we're deploying AI within our data products, you could ask a question in plain English, get answers quickly. You could slice performance across various tiers, suppliers, regions with AI without rebuilding reports from ground up. We could receive some alerts, manage risk and efficiencies. AI helps structure those details. And then, of course, understanding the root cause without waiting on lengthy analytics or people, analysts that come in with the context, but AI helps in crunching the data. It's, again, speed to decision making with AI helping us with the context for the human in the loop to make some really good decisions.
Hi, data and AI friends. We are at a generational shift. Some might even say a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. To capitalize on this opportunity, you need more than just great technology. You need a mindset shift. That's why I'm proud to say that ThoughtSpot sponsors this podcast. Go from raw data to trusted insights and action with ThoughtSpot Agentic Analytics, a platform powered by a suite of specialized AI agents. It's why companies like Cisco, Lyft, T-Mobile, Sephora, and Schneider Electric count on ThoughtSpot. See what the future of analytics looks like at ThoughtSpot.com. So there's a few terms you've used there, understanding the root cause, context. I would dare say that some who are early in their AI journey, they really have just gotten to descriptive analytics. What you're really describing is the diagnostic and the predictive. Tell me what I didn't know. Tell me what to do. Did I get that right?
Yes, there's a lot of that. I mean, AI is a journey, and there's a different level of metrics you can get. And many of us started the journey with just using generative AI. Everybody started in the same kind of playing field for big customers. But now we're getting to a point where we want to be able to trust AI for decision making. And some of us are trying to figure out how do we improve the quality of that data using AI to be able to trust it more, because this is still definitely a concern for us and our customers.
Oh, for sure. Trust is non-negotiable. And we can have both bad data and we can also have hallucinations when you don't have good governance of AI in place. So what can you share about the technology that powers Ligentia Insights?
So we early on invested into a compute platform so that we have less difficulties and less focus on the infrastructure. We added to the compute platform a lot of tools to integrate data. In supply chain, for us, a lot of the work is bringing the data together. So we put in a lot of the framework on how we bring data in and clean the data across different cycles, right? The star schema model. So we invested in tool set to be able to bring data successfully, get it cleaned up, get it structured in a way that could go into our really models. And then we invested into semantic models and modeling using an industry-leading BI product. Right? This is where you guys come in. We also made another very important decision that we want something that integrates within our platform that could be branded with our experience, where we focus more about stitching all this amazing data we get from our suppliers, from our customers, from our operating partners, industry data, so we could do some benchmarking, and then we focus on putting it all together with semantics so that you could ask data using, interrogate data using natural language model questions, and then obviously make decisions off of it. So that's our tech stack. It's focusing on more on outcomes, less on infrastructure, less on custom design because of our decisions around embedded products and embedded analytics.
Yeah. So one criteria that I heard is that you could make ThoughtSpot look like a Ligentia product. In fact, nobody even knows on the back end that's what's powering that. So this kind of white labeling, it sounds like that was important.
Absolutely, yeah. We wanted to control the brand experience, the same login for our customers, removing the friction, and having, the experience of being in one trusted platform for making those decisions.
Yeah, and what you keep referring to experience, but experience is a hard thing to evaluate. It's not a single feature or function. What would you advise other CIOs to look for? How do you capture and evaluate solutions on experience?
A lot of times it's definitely the friction that you're trying to remove, right? So you have to understand how does the end user of your platform engage with the platform. It's the clicks. It's the in our industry, it's also down to some of the functionality, the features. Our users want to be able to manage the data, right? The Excel spreadsheet still is relevant. So ability to be able to run reports, extract data, merge the data, a lot of the self-service functionality, that is part of the experience. It's navigating less through different screens, being in one place, and then having the key functionality that's important for you to work with data that's available across multiple systems.
Yeah. Now, Ligentia is a global supply chain provider, but you also operate within the EU. We have the EU AI Act that requires transparency and some different policies in the US. How do you approach these differing regulations and making sure that you as a company are compliant, but also the providers that you work with support the different requirements?
Here in Europe for AI and the policies, I see things being a lot more structured. You need to be clear on how your models work, how decisions are made, how you explain those decisions. You mentioned the EU AI Act. It shows up in very practical ways. Things like transparency, auditability of data, making sure there's always a human oversight in how decisions are applied. And then in the US, especially around the Bay Area, you see companies moving faster, taking a little more risks, less upfront constraint, more experimentation. And so for us, operating globally, you can't really build two different approaches, right? So we design often to a higher standard from the start, making sure that we build explainable, governed, and scalable solutions across different markets. It's a little bit more effort upfront. I can't avoid that, but it does avoid the rework that comes in later. And more importantly, it builds trust. It builds trust, which is critical when you're using AI to support real operational decisions. Just last week, when I was with a customer in Singapore, a lot of questions come in. Explain us how AI got to that. So it is good for us to have that coaching to be able to do the walkthrough of how the models are built. That just builds more confidence.
Yeah, yeah. And now you're at a pivotal time as a company recently being acquired. So I'm picturing merging data, merging systems. As you look ahead, what are your next goals now?
Yeah, Asyad Group, which is a major logistic player that's headquartered in Oman, has acquired the majority stake in Ligentia. So it's a significant milestone for us. It opens up a new phase for growth. I actually just came back from the region, so spending time with the team there, and what stood out to me immediately was the ambition, the welcoming culture, and the scale of opportunity that's in front of us. We've traditionally been strong across retail, healthcare, agriculture, and now with Asyad, we have a real exposure to the energy sector, which brings a whole new set of capabilities, new opportunities. What I'd like to accomplish is really simple, right? We need to continue to remove friction from how supply chains operate, less waiting, less noise, fewer disconnected tools. We got to continue to focus on improving that experience for our customers, making it easier to understand what's happening, what to do next, give them better options when things don't go to plan.
Yeah, for sure. It's balancing that experimentation and time to market. while also, merging companies. What role do you see technology partners playing in this next chapter, Boris?
I'm really excited about going to market together with our technology partners, like you guys. We build for ourselves often as a logistics provider using our partner ecosystem. And what I find that works in a managed service environment usually often and translates directly into value for our customers. So working with our partners, bringing that forward together is a big part of what I think is going to come next. That's the focus for us. Simpler, faster, more reliable, together with the partners to solve for our customers' problems at scale.
Okay. And I love that you use the term partner rather than vendor, of course. So, Boris, we've covered a lot of ground. Let's shift to a fun lightning round. What do you like to do outside of work when you're not involved in data and AI?
I'm a big car enthusiast, so anything that's automotive, right? Especially classic cars, all things motorsport. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, so the car culture is really in my DNA. And now being in London, in UK, I really developed a love for British cars. So there's something about that heritage, the craftsmanship, that pride of ownership. Not just a car; it's a character. So when I'm not in the world of data and AI, I probably think about cars, driving one, or maybe trying to justify getting another one.
Yeah. So, favorite car?
Since I'm in the UK, it's got to be the Aston Martin DB5. That's like that's the goal. That's
I
the bar.
suspected. How about someone famous or not that really inspires you?
I tend to gravitate toward builders, people who create things from ground up, whether it's a technology or business. Cindy, you have a great podcast here, but equally, I also like big format, kind of long format podcasts, and Acquired is one of my favorites. I love, to listen for hours when I drive, how companies are built. Acquired had a podcast on Costco, so it's one of my favorites. And then the recent Formula One was also great. You listen to these podcasts and you walk away understanding not just what these businesses are, but the thousands of decisions that shape them. So I get really inspired listening to that.
Yeah. So, I guess, do you think listening to those, do you conclude that it's more luck or leadership?
You always need luck. I think you can't get away without luck. It's multiple factors, but luck has to be one of them. But look, leadership has to be strategic. It has to have some managed risk making. I think you got to put all those factors together and to do great, inspiring things.
For sure. How about a particular book that has shaped your thinking or think everyone should really read?
Yeah, one book that really stuck with me. I don't get a chance to read a lot of books these days, but one that stuck with me is The Age of Spiritual Machines by Ray Kurzweil. I read it a while ago, but it's even more relevant now. What he talks about in this idea that machines, and more specifically intelligence, will increasingly integrate into how we live and work, almost becoming invisible but essential to what we do. And when I think about what we're doing in supply chain, it actually maps quite closely. We're moving from systems that just report what happened to systems that could guide us in decision making. They could support our workforce and eventually, act a little bit more autonomously. So this reinforces something important. This is not just about technology. It's about how humans interact with the technology. Trust, usability, how you embed it into our day-to-day workflows. So for me, it's shaped how I think about AI, not just a separate capability, but as something that needs to be built directly into, again, I keep using the word experience, but this is where decisions are made. That's the journey that we're on.
Yeah. Oh, I'll have to check it out. And you can choose the last one, Boris. Either maybe what are you most grateful for beyond the obvious of health and family, or an accomplishment from the last week that you are particularly proud of?
Look, I'm grateful for the trust that our customers place in us. At the end of the day, they rely on us to keep their supply chains moving. So often very complex space, unpredictable conditions, and that's responsibility that I'm genuinely grateful for, to be able to be helping them navigate these disruptions.
Yeah, for sure. We have a belief. We say we work for our users, so that trust from customers, of course, is should be the number one criteria for everyone. But sometimes it is not. Boris, thank you so much for being on the Data and AI Chief.
Thank you, Cindy. I got to ask you the same question then. What are you most grateful for or proud of for the last week?
That we got you on the podcast. That takes scheduling between your schedule and my schedule. So glad that we could do this, and also in the midst of a lot of change in your org for sure. Okay, Data and AI Chief listeners, now that Boris has armed you with some actionable strategies to use data and AI to navigate a volatile supply chain, focusing on decisions in the moment, go get to it. If you enjoyed this conversation, please rate or like it on your favorite podcast platform. And if you would like more inspiration and thought leadership, visit dataandaichief.com or connect with me on LinkedIn.